Okay, I've just started the recording. And okay, we're going to get started, everyone. Okay. All right. Dear members of the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Meetup Group, welcome. And thank you for joining us today. I'm Thomas Liang, the organizer and host for this evening. And whether it's afternoon, morning, or evening for you, we welcome you. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our new members. I hope you find today's event enjoyable, and we look forward to hosting many more in the future. Our Meetup Group's mission is to connect members with respected authorities in our profession. We highly value your speaker suggestions, so please feel free to send them to us, email them to us. Today marks our 145th event. I'm so pleased to announce that we have resumed in-person meetups. Although this one it's an online meetup, but we have resumed in-person meetups, and but for those who are unable to attend physically, because you can be from outside the New York area, we're working on live streaming live events, so that's coming. So we'll have the best of both worlds. As a special thank you for attending today's event, each of you will receive an email containing a $20 coupon to use at Kamwo's Practitioner online store. If you don't see the email, please check your spam folder. The talk tonight is expected to last approximately 1.5 hours and will conclude around 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we begin, I would like to share a few ground rules. Please mute your microphones to minimize background noise, and hold off on questions until our guest speaker prompts us to ask questions. And of course, there's a Q&A session at the end as well. If you have an urgent or relevant comment, please type it in the chat box and raise your hand. And as your host, I will address it. So ensuring that, by doing this, we ensure that the lecture remains uninterrupted. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it fills me with great joy and pride to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Su-Ping Negrin. She is a Qigong healer, spiritual coach, acupuncturist, and author of Stronger Than Your Stress, an energy guide to heal from within. She's also the founder of Heal From Within. Oh, I'm sorry. She's also the founder of Heal From Within. She holds a master's in acupuncture from Tri-State College of Acupuncture, with an additional 2-year concentration in orthopedics and rehabilitation. Additionally, she holds a BS in applied mathematics and computer science from SUNY Albany. Her journey to overcome a 14-year battle with insomnia inspired the creation of Heal From Within, a program that is revolutionizing mental health by shifting energy from the malfunctioning mind to the grounding spirit. Since then, Sue has been dedicated to treating mental health conditions such as stress, anxiety, and depression through her unique vibrational healings and teachings of spiritual Qigong practice, which aim to balance the mind-soul connection. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Su-Ping Negrin as she shares her profound insights and experience with us today. So online, I think we can do this as a applause, right? So welcome, Sue. Without further ado, I turn it over to our speaker.
Thank you so much, Tom. I think the last time is this okay? I'm going to pin myself. You get to see how big I am. So first of all, I want to say I've done a lot of these webinars and meetups and masterclasses lately, and this is the friendliest one I've done. It's just so nice to come in, have a nice conversation, and be amongst friends and colleagues and people who are really interested in furthering Chinese medicine. So this is very exciting. Thank you for all being here. And when Tom asked me whether I wanted to do this live or online, initially I said live, but then I said, no, let me do online, because really all my work now and all my teachings are online. And I think it's really important because I want to share with you how powerful Qi is and how much it can transcend all boundaries, including physical boundaries. So that's why I like to do this online. Plus, I also have my little cheat sheets and stuff. So anyway, thank you, Tom, for that introduction. And as he said, my name is Su Ping Negrin. I don't have to repeat anything he said. And I've been a Chinese medicine practitioner for over 20 years. And as he said, I recently published a book, Stronger Than Your Stress. And my aim today is to show you how to treat mental health by applying the fundamentals of Chinese medicine. And it's one of the most important tools that we have today. And yet it is the least practiced amongst most Chinese medicine practitioners, and that is Qigong. We have Chinese medicine practitioners doing yoga, mindfulness, and other meditations, yet we have, for me, the gold, like the secret, like the golden treasure of Chinese medicine, which is Qigong. And in my opinion, it's really superior. So I over the last, I would say, 10 years, whenever I meet a Chinese medicine practitioner, the first thing I ask is Qigong. Forget about even treating mental health. Just for your own personal cultivation, I think it is so important. And I hope to show you that what I've decided to do with Qigong, and because it helped me overcome my 14 years of insomnia, is how I was able to marry it with spirituality. And that spirituality is not a footnote in our medicine, but it is a main integral part of our medicine. And as I said, I really learned this through my journey of 14 years when I started my acupuncture practice and I lost my sleep. And Chinese medicine nor Western medicine could help me. I mean, and I went down every path, and it wasn't until I realized that spirit was missing from my life. And not only from my life, but from my schooling. And I like to ask this, how many people, put in your chat, how many people learn Qigong in their Chinese medicine practice, in school? Raise your hands. Tom, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I can't see all of them, but so we have a lot actually. Who didn't learn Qigong? Okay, I did not learn Qigong at Tri-State. I learned it through practitioners who came in to teach us, and then they would be like, oh, I do Qigong, but there was no class in Qigong. So now I'm going to ask you, how many people practice Qigong on a regular basis? 2, 3 people. And I will learn it. We're required to take Qigong. Okay, well, I hope to get you to the point where you're going to say, not that I'm required, but I'm excited because this is a big part of our practice. Okay, next question. How many real Chinese medicine, and I mean real Chinese medicine practitioners, masters of Chinese medicine, I mean those people that came from China or who studied extensively from China. I'm sure we have all studied with them and we've all practiced with them. Have you noticed that they all practice Qigong? That is what let's talk about acupuncturists. Every Chinese medicine practitioner that I've worked with, masters, practice Qigong, Neigong, some sort of that. And Daniel raised his hand. Okay. So if it is something that every master has done, right? Why is it not a bigger part of our medicine and our practice? And this is what I'm hoping to show you. So I'm going to share I'm going to go back and forth between a slideshow and then me. And okay, you guys see this now? Okay, great. So healing mental health with spiritual Qigong. The first thing I want to talk about is just, and I know this is going to be a little rudimentary. I'm going to say, I know this, but I was a computer consultant. I was a mathematician. So I have like the most logical brain. And unfortunately, I can't really explain anything unless it goes through that logical system. So you're going to have to bear with me. So I want to get back to the basics and leading up to why spirituality and Qigong is so important. Health begins with yin and yang. We know that yin, earth, is heaven, and that we need to live in harmony with both. We need to live in harmony with heaven and earth. But what does that mean in our practical life? How are we living in harmony with heaven and earth? This to me is a really big question, because I can tell you that I was not living in harmony. We learned all the theories, we learned everything, but how was I bringing it into my life and also in my practice? We know that yang is heaven, right? Yang is heaven, it is spirit. Earth is physical. And we know that it is the balance of those two where health exists. And so we know that illness is just an imbalance of spirit and earth. So when I had insomnia, or somebody comes in with stress, insomnia, we know that the Shen is affected. Our heart, our mind is affected. And as a Chinese medicine practitioner, I'm going to ask you, when somebody comes in, and I'm going to stop the share now. When somebody comes in as a Chinese medicine practitioner, how would you treat somebody with stress, insomnia, or anxiety, depression? What would you do? Anybody, just type it in. You would do acupuncture, right? How do you guys treat it? Acupuncture, some herbs, right? Calming the heart qi, right? Maybe liver qi rising, or liver, liver qi constraint, right? Maybe in herbs, give them some Swanzha Ren, right? Things like that, right? All kind of calming stuff. And that's pretty much how we've been taught to do that. But all of that is on a very physical level, right? Everything that we've just talked about is the physicality, the manifestation of that, of our Shen being disturbed in our body. And honestly, that's what I did for all these years. That's how I addressed it. I addressed the physical outcome of my Shen being disturbed. But we're going to go back to what I was showing, okay? The Shen has been disturbed, that spirit has been disturbed, and that's what's showing up in our body. And right now, if we're treating the Shen disturbed by treating the physical body, well, now we're treating yin, right? We're really just treating yin. We're not really treating the yang. We're not treating the spirit, because how are we affecting the spirit through the physical body? You can do that, but it's a bit challenging. So my big question is, how do we actually treat the Shen, right? We're treating the manifestation of the Shen disturbed in our body with all these points. And we know that mental illness, all that has to do with the Shen. So would you agree that most of our medicine today focuses on physical health, right? Acupuncture, herbs, physical exercise, it's all focused on the manifestation of the disturbance of spirit in our body. So we've become so over-focused on treating the physical yin, and I'm here to show you that's the very first violation of the Chinese law. We're not balancing the highest level of yin and yang, right? Because that was the first thing I showed you. It all boils down to the balancing of yin and yang, spirit and earth. And when we are so focused on treating only physicality, we've already broken that first violation. From the highest level, it's already been broken. And that's what happened to me. It went on for 14 years, and guess what? I was focusing on all the physical stuff. I was focusing on the acupuncture, I exercised, it did all that. And really what was happening was that no matter what, every time somebody would, make a change on the physicality, my Shen was still disturbed. And everything that was leading up to that, I didn't even know how to access that. So I was consistently living out of balance. And because I was only focused on my physical aspect of my being. And what did I do? I was an acupuncturist. I learned all the techniques, right? Oh, wait, sorry. I went back. Oh, sorry. So I don't know if you guys have met Dr. Edward Neal, but I saw him on a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and he was amazing. He talked about the Neijing concept of Shen, and he's a Western doctor, and he analyzes Chinese texts, and he showed how illness is a result of the Shen no longer being able to illuminate the body, that the body is now dark. And this is how I literally felt. This is what you're seeing here is how I felt. I really felt like the light had shut down. There was no darkness. I mean, there was no lightness. And what he does is in his practice, he actually really moves like heart blood in order to get things flowing, to let the Shen shine through again. And he's had tremendous result. And that is great. I think that's amazing. But my interest is, how do we change the Shen so that it doesn't manifest in this darkness again? So we're clearing the darkness on a physical level, but where is the bridge between treating it on a physical level and connecting it to your spirituality, so that you continue to allow the light to flow? And so I, like you, I mean, I learned everything. I learned all the basics, right? The classification of the 5 elements. But even with all this knowledge, and I had everything mapped out, right? Chinese medicine maps out the universe into our body, right? And that's how we as practitioners have come up with a science to understand how to treat the physical body, which is just a manifestation of what's going on in the universe. But even with all that, it couldn't provide me relief. And I realized that I knew everything on an intellectual level, but it didn't help me on a spiritual level. It didn't help me on a practical level of sleep and regaining my life back. And then I went out of the box, and for the next 10 years, I literally went down a path of spirituality because nothing was helping me. So I went down this path of just spirituality, not even Chinese medicine. I started studying with a Native American Indian healer. And in 2 distance healing sessions, this was before Zoom, I never even met her. 2 distance healing sessions, she recovered my sleep about 40 to 50%. And so as a healer, what do I want to do? Of course, I want to study with her. I spent the next 2 years studying with her, understanding how she was able to heal me with this. I know it's Qi. And for the next 2 years, the one thing she kept saying to me is, you're in your head too much. And literally, she said that to me all the time. I had no idea what the heck she meant by that. I was like, what do you mean I'm in my head? My head's everything. That's what I do. And she just kept saying that. And then she taught me how to tap into spirit. And the way Native Americans heal, they're a little bit different because they're about spiritual guides. And one of the things that, I feel like a very self-empowered woman, and, the guides were outside of me, and I really had a hard time with that. And so I ended up stopping the apprenticeship because I really felt like I needed to bring back power into me. And what was interesting is when I graduated from Tri-State, the very first thing I said was that I don't even know what happened, but the very first thing I said was that I need to have the ability to do energy healing. I just knew it. I could feel the Qi in my needles, in my hands. And I said, well, this life force, there's got to be something to it. So I then spent the next, whatever, I mean, the whole time was 14 years where I studied spirituality. And then all of a sudden, and I had done Qigong, I had done Neigong, I had been doing that during this time as well. And then all of a sudden, it was probably towards the end of my spiritual teachings with all these various teachers, I met Robert Pang. And something opened up. It was the most incredible thing. 2 weeks of practicing his Qigong, my insomnia, which probably, let's say, it was maybe about 60% better at this point, went away 100%. I was totally fine in 2 weeks. And I thought, oh, this is really, really interesting. And, you know, and I've always said, oh, the Qigong was the big thing, but it wasn't just the Qigong. It came at the end of my spiritual teachings. And so I started trying to look into what's this whole thing is Shen. What is this all about? So I want to ask you guys right now, if you want to share with me what your definition of spirit is. What's your definition of spirit, Shen? I'd love to hear it. And there's no right or wrong answer. This is just, what's your understanding of it? Anybody want to share? You could even tell me. You can speak if you want. You don't have to. Whatever you'd like to do. Nobody. All right. You want me to give you my definition? Yes.
I think it's sort of like maybe like the ethereal, like soul. When I think of spirit, you know, like not like apart from the body.
Mm-hmm. You think it's apart from the body, or apart, like part of you, or apart, like separate?
I think it's like separate.
You think it's separate?
Like spirit resides in your body, but you know, like after like you die, your spirit like leaves. Like it's like a whole nother part.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for starting that conversation, Hao Young. AJ says an expression of divine in the subtlest of form, and that is true. And I'm going to share with you my definition. And my definition is the ethereal essence of the universe. It is the original life force and the source that gives rise to and sustains the life of everything in the universe. That is my definition of spirit. And AJ said it's the subtlest of form. And Hao Young says it's separate. And I would say that in those two things, that it's separate and that it's subtle, is the reason why I think that most people don't connect with it, because they think it's something separate from them, and it's so subtle and it's so not tangible. And that is something that which is my mission, that anything that's so separate and subtle means that you don't know how to bring it into your life on a practical level. And that is why it's so misunderstood. And that's why we can't grasp it. And it wasn't until I took Qigong, which is all about life force, and married it with my understanding of spirituality, that I was able to now create something that was tangible. And when you create something, when you can touch something that's tangible, it is no longer a thought. It is no longer something that you have faith in. It is something that you can actually touch. And that, for me, is what I'm here to do. And Dr. Neil, when he talks about that spirit no longer shining in us, right? It heals and it's sitting inside all these blockages. And he saw that when you release these blockages, all these unbelievable things start to happen. Tumors started to shrink, right? Because now we were letting Shen come through again. And I've seen the same thing. I mean, I treat and I see tumors shrink, and and doctors are like totally baffled. And I'm sure that you guys have had the same experiences. And the idea that this entity, that Shen has come in locked, that we don't have control over, how do we access it, is really the foundation of what I do, and why I think it is so important. Because I don't think we're ever going to get to a place of spiritual understanding unless we really can touch it, unless we can really understand it. And that is really my mission, is how do we help us understand how spirituality manifests inside of us? And to help me in that discovery, I'm going to share one of our most famous ancient Chinese medicine practitioners of all time, Sun Sima. He's one of the most renowned Chinese medicine practitioners, somebody that I've actually just started discovering just within the last year. And what's interesting is that I experienced all this and then I read it, and it's so interesting how everything just converges, so that all this knowledge was given to me not through reading. I experienced it and then read it, and I said, oh, we aligned. So he wrote two of our most important books in Chinese medicine. One of them is this fourth discussion of this 1,000 Gold Essential Formula. And he was an incredible herbalist and a renowned doctor. And he talked about 3 levels of physicians. And this is really important. The first level of physician is the lower doctor. That's somebody who treats people who are already sick. And then the middle doctor is somebody who treats people who are almost ill. With Susan in. And then the upper level doctor, he calls the great physician. They cure future diseases. And this is really important because I was a lower level doctor for all these years. I was treating people who are already sick. Herbs, acupuncture, and moxa, right? And he goes to note that that's the last resort. Isn't that interesting? The lowest doctor is the last resort. And the middle doctor, he didn't say this specifically. I kind of extrapolated that middle doctors treat with food. And that shows you how important he thinks food lifestyle is, as opposed to urban acupuncture, moxa. That is a medicine that's invasive. It's a little more invasive, and somebody has to do it for you. And then the upper level doctor, he notes lifestyle, morality, breathing, physical exercise, includes sex, spiritual practice, and meditation. And that is a really important thing because he spent so much time in spirituality and in meditation. And I would say that this lower doctor, which is where I was at, and how I was being treated. I was being treated as from lower practitioners in this spirit that my broken spirit, my deficient spirit that had already manifested in me. And here I'm going to contend that I don't think you can treat mental illness, emotional illness that's affected by your Shen by doing lower middle. I think you have to be an upper level doctor in order to do that, because the idea of mental illness is that our mind is actually what's the problem, right? It's up in here. It's this which has created the physical illness. But if we're treating physical illness without correcting how we can change our mental attitude and our connection to life, then we're always going to be disconnected, and we're always going to be putting out fires. We're always, it may start with your stomach, it may start with your sleep, but we're always going to be chasing symptoms. So in order to stop chasing symptoms, we have to go fairly high level. And I'm going to read an excerpt. This is from Sabine Williams, who actually I've read a lot of her stuff. She has translated a lot of his writings and stuff. And he says that an excellent physician guides qi and essence with medicinals and lancing stone, and rescues with needles and prescriptions. A sagely ruler harmonizes qi and essence in order to perfect his power. And that's so important, because when you cultivate qi, you're cultivating your power, and uses them for support in order to manage the affairs of humanity. Thus, the human body has illnesses that can be cured, and heaven and earth have calamities that can be dispersed. Why is that so important? He's saying, yes, the human body has illnesses that can be cured. But when you harmonize chi and essence on a much higher level, on a heaven and earth level, that's where you're going to ward off calamities, and that's much bigger. And so nurturing life was really the utmost important to him, and that meant that he was very much connected to understanding the human effect of microcosm and vice versa. And he was an incredible scholar, and nurturing life was the most important thing for him. And actually the very first chapter in all of the books that he's written was all about gynecology and women's health, because that again is nurturing life, because he's all about nurturing life. It's not just you and birthing, and then in gynecology, and when you can treat a woman, then you're also treating their descendants, their family, and a society as a whole. So one of the things supposedly he was asked is, what principles do the famous physicians employ to cure illness? And he answered, I heard that if one is skilled at talking about heaven, one must substantiate it in the human realm. So we can talk about heaven, but how do we bring it down on a practical level in our physical body? And then if one is skilled at talking about the human body, it also has to be rooted in heaven. And this is where I think we kind of fail a little bit. So we can talk about it on a human level, but we don't know how to bring it back on the heaven level. We don't know how to connect it back to its root. And then he goes on to talking about, how do we do that? In exhaling and inhaling, spitting out and sucking in, that's just the breath. He's now talking about the breath. In essence, a chi leaves and it comes. I love that, right? In the breath, chi leaves and it comes. And in their flow, they constitute the constructive and protective influences of the body. They manifest as facial color, they erupt as sound. So all of this flow that's coming in, how it sits in our body and how it curates health is going to manifest in our facial color and sound. That's how we use to diagnose people. These are the constancies of humanity. Yang employs the form, yin employs the essence, and this is where heaven and humanity are identical. And I wanted to just really, I know I read, and hopefully you guys followed me a little bit, but really all of that was just to help us understand that what's manifesting in us originates from here. And we now know how when something goes awry, it comes in here, how it manifests in our body, but we also have to know how to bring it back to this. And that is truly where Qigong comes in. Qigong is all about this life force. It is about the breath, connecting that breath to the universe. Qi, the name of Qi is life force. That is Qi. And so when we do a lot of Qigong, right, it's about not just moving energy, Qi in the body, it is about understanding that this Qi is connected to spirit. And why is Qigong so incredible? As you do more Qigong, you now not only know what Qi is up in here, but you actually connect to the universe. You're connecting to their energy. And when you feel that energy coming through your hands and you feel it going into your body, you are now one with the universe. And now you can start to understand the universe in a really direct, sentient way, as opposed to just coming through here. And that to me is really the most important thing. And when you can do that, now you can actually have an opportunity to live in harmony with heaven and earth, yin and yang. I'll give you a great example. I was never a gardener. I didn't like gardening. I've been doing Qigong for a while now. And all of a sudden this year, I put my hand in the soil and I was like, oh my God, like I felt connected to the soil, right? It was incredible. And then I had all these tomato plants and it was overcrowded. It was just like, I could see moss growing there, like fungus. And I was like, oh my God. So I like went online, listened, watched some videos. I was like, what should I do? And then I went, wait a minute. What would I do when somebody comes into my office and I see, damp heat or, something blocked and I what would I do? I'd be like, well, first thing I'm gonna do is I gotta start to clear, right? If their muscles are blocked, I'm gonna peck at the muscle and I'm gonna open up their muscles just to release some of the excess. So I looked at the plant. I was like, there's a lot of excess. There were dead leaves. I was like, well, let me just start trimming off the dead leaves. So I just started trimming off the dead leaves, some of the dead branches. I maybe got rid of the 30% of my tomato plant. And the next day was remarkable. Things just started growing. It was so incredible. And I was like, so now I'm living Qigong. And that really came from the constant Qigong practice. And what I'm going to share with you now, though, is actually something that I realized. I had done a lot of Qigong, remember, even throughout this time. I did a lot of Qigong, Negrin, but it wasn't really helping me until the end of my spiritual teachings. And I realized the one thing that probably didn't allow me to absorb the Qi in the same way that it did when I met Robert Pang was that something happened. Maybe those 2 years of my the Indian healer saying, you're in your head. I realized, oh, wait a minute. It's my head that got in the way. So, and that's really a big theory, a big fundamental of mine, is that when I do Qigong, I get this right out of the way because this blocks everything. When you bring in something, it goes into your mind immediately puts boundaries on it, immediately. It already defined it, what you expect, your interpretations and all that. And when you do Qigong and you connect to the universe, who the heck knows what that is? Who even knows what the universe looks like? Nobody. I mean, yeah, we see pictures, but we don't really know. So the idea of this life force, I just want to go into it and absorb. I want to be shown. And in all honesty, come on, Chinese medicine. You think some guy, the emperor, said, oh, okay, yes, the meridians. Oh, it looks like rivers. Oh, it's large intestine. Do you think that somebody intellectually thought of that? No way. It came from the divine because, again, I said, Chinese medicine, all medicine came from spiritual healing. That was how it originated. And it was that moment that I realized, oh, and the minute that I let go of my preconcepts, anything, my world opened up. I saw Qi in my body in a way that you couldn't teach me in a textbook. I felt it going through my body. Every time I needled somebody before, I would feel Qi, I'd feel it in my hands, but now I'm like, oh, no, because my Qi's connected, I can feel my Qi connected to them. It's the coolest thing. So why do I think mental health is the worst problem now more than ever? Because of science versus spirit. And I attribute this to us moving so heavily towards science, which is what? Studying, intellectual explanation, reasoning. I'm a mathematician, so I do that. And the further we move away from that, the further we move towards that, we move further away from spirit. And AJ said it earlier, it's subtle. Well, something so subtle has a really hard time contending with this dominant brain. I call it a dictator. If it's so subtle, well, you're not going to hear it because this is constantly going. This is already telling us what we think is the truth. And we're only going to believe it when we see it on paper or, we're being taught. So I think this shift, this focus on mental consciousness, forced us into a less spiritual consciousness. And this is, for me, the reason why things have broken down. And as I said, every medicine today that we have started from a spiritual religious place, shamans, magic gods, but no longer. Because we've gotten into a really scientific world. And so we've swung that way. We've swung the other way. It's because it's all about mental consciousness, analysis, logic, deductive reasoning. We're even trying to study spirituality through the brain. And this, if you learn anything from today, you are not going to experience spirituality from the brain. It's just not possible because we don't know spirituality. We've already said it's this force outside of us. And if we want to study spirit, which is the life force of the universe, let's just go in open-minded, connect to this energy. And hopefully today, when I share with you a little Qigong, hope to get you to feel a little bit of that energy, that to me is where that is the reason why I've been able to take the most anxious, depressed, we're talking like serious depression. And in 9 weeks, I'm able to turn them around. No herbs, no acupuncture. Most of my work is online and only through spiritual Qigong. Because I've taught them how to shut this down. And why is it so important to shut this down? Oh my God. You know, science has shown us that our brain runs negative thoughts about 80% of the time. Would you agree? Right? 80% of the time. Some people say, oh, larger, 90, 95. I'm like, just think about that. 90 to 95% of the time, we're fighting this stupidity that's going on. And we know yin and yang. We know where there is, where we know that when something has gotten out of order, something's gotten so excess, we know in Chinese medicine that something's been deficient, right? We know that. Something's been deficient to ground it. So when this has gotten so crazy, what do you think's become deficient? Our spirit. Our spirit is exactly what has become non-existent because we don't know how to connect to it. We believe it's outside of us. It's so subtle. How do we do it? And spiritual consciousness has nothing to do with the brain. The brain gets into the way. And Einstein showed this over 100 years ago. He showed that intuition and knowledge has an inverse relationship. As one gets bigger, the other gets smaller, and vice versa. And today our head is so big. So my whole work is to help people develop a relationship with their spirit by checking out that brain. Stop it from interfering in our life and learn how to connect to spirit by communicating with the language of spirit. And for me, that is Qi. For me, spirit, ethereal, life force, that's what it is. Connected to divine, that is the original, the original Qi, Da Qi, whatever it is, it's connected to that. So that for me is the best tool to connect with our spiritual energy. And you guys, as Chinese medicine practitioners, let me tell you, if you follow my formula, really check out your mind, I am telling you right now, you will connect with that Qi. I get people, a lot of people come to my group, they're not Chinese medicine practitioners. So I, to do a few things before, but I am telling you, you guys work with Qi, you know what Qi feels like. It'll become alive for you and you want to be able to touch it. So this is why this inverse relationship I'm talking to you about, because spirit is here to help us understand the wonders and mysteries of the universe. Would you guys agree with that? Would you guys agree that spirituality is to help us understand the mysteries, right? And the wonders of the universe. Now you tell me how the brain is going to help us understand the wonders and the mysteries of the universe. We don't know it yet. It hasn't been explored. It hasn't been proven. So in order to connect there, we want to be able to be like that emperor who said, because all we're here, right? Chinese medicine, we know the universe is here to teach us. We're not creating anything new, right? All the herbs, everything's been created for us. And all we're doing is latching on to learn from it. And the only way we can really learn from it is not by bringing our negative mind, which Tommy says sticks like Velcro, right? Positively, really interesting. Positivity slips off like Teflon. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. Thank you for that. But so what I'm saying is brain is 80% negative, soul 100% positive. You do the math. Which center do I want to spend a lot of time in? Certainly not my brain. And negativity sticks like Velcro. And that's so true because negative energy is heavy, right? It's heavy, negative, yin, heavy, right? It sinks. So we know that mass really sits in there. Positivity, like lofty, leaves us very quickly, but we have chi to continue to replenish it. My daughter said to me, you know, it's so strange. When something bad happens to me, it sits in my stomach, it sits in my body, and it's so hard to get rid of. And then the minute something positive happens, she goes, I feel great for like 5 minutes. So same idea, right? It leaves us quickly. So because of that, we need to be able to continually replenish the energy, this positive energy, to offset the negative. So thank you for that, AJ. Really, really important. And so it is truly my belief that our mental health today is a modern day dilemma. It's getting worse because of this brain dominance. I would not be teaching this 4,000 years ago. Because why? Because we didn't have brain dominance then. We didn't study the brain the way we do now because they were so close to spirit and God. So I really believe this is a modern day dilemma. And this is what led me to do what I'm doing today. I want to become an upper level doctor because I want to help people. When you're a low level doctor, you're treating disease. It's already happened. You've already brought in chi into your mind. You've distorted it because you're not living aligned with the universe. So you've distorted it. And that comes in as illness in your body. So then if you're treating only that, then you're only treating the illness in the body. But I want to get there before my brain has a chance to screw it up, basically. That's really what I want. I want to get there before it comes in, and I want to get there and let it just flow through me. Teach me, universe, show me what I'm doing wrong. So the only way you can do that is what I teach. Quiet the brain by not getting the brain to quiet, by empowering the spiritual center directly. And that to me is truly, the work is so easy. It really is. And when the brain is the problem, the last thing we want is what? More information. The more information, we've trapped it, right? Isn't that how stress feels? We feel like this. It's closing us in. And when we do Qigong, we're like, I open. I'm letting out and I'm allowing things to come into me. And we want less info. And so my work's easy, less info, teaching us how to connect to chi, more energy movement, more spirit. And a big part of what I teach is how to stop blocking the energy, this chi, from illuminating brightly in our body. And that to me is what's going to heal future diseases. Is it happening? Absolutely. People who are in my practice, they take less medication than they've ever taken. They had pain that they thought would never go away. Their relationships are better. So it's interesting. We're not even just talking about physical health. Now, remember, we're talking about the idea that Qigong connects us to a bigger picture. It connects us to life. Like Sun Tzu Mao, it's all about nourishing life in a society as a whole. So as we get broader and as we connect, I hear this so many times. They're like, wow, my relationship with my husband's better, or my wife is better. It really, and because chi, as we know, is light and ethereal, it has the opportunity to get into your body on a cellular level. And if you look at some of the NIH studies where they talk about Qigong and cancer, right? They show you that people who do Qigong, actually changes the telomere of a cancer cell, which is the part that tells the cell to stop dividing. That's incredible. And that study is out there. So look it up, NIH, Qigong and cancer. Because it gets down on that cellular level. It is truly, I have to tell you, the single most remarkable thing I have ever done. Because what I'm able to do today is by far so much more dramatic than anything I've ever done. I have people just that came back week after week, and I couldn't help them because I understood that when they left me balanced, they would go back and their brain was all screwed up. They weren't letting, they didn't have the right perspective. So what did I need to do, including myself? I need to change my perspective. And a lot of times what we're doing now is we're asking people to change their perspective. I love this. We get our mind to change our perspective. Our mind's the problem. Our mind is the problem. We're asking it to self-correct. Not logical. You take a kid in a candy store who's all wired up with candy. You go, okay, stop eating. Just, you're reasoning with them. This kid's not going to stop eating. It doesn't know. You got to take that kid physically out. So my work is all about not the mind at all. It is about connecting us to that spiritual space. And that is really, it sounds so simple, but that is what I do. And I teach people how to stop letting that energy stop blocking their energy. And that comes through our mind, through our physical body, through our eat, all of it. And what's the best thing about it is that now that I'm not 100% aligned, but because I'm human and I make mistakes and I live in my head sometimes, but because I now I'm spiritually connected, the power in me is by far so much greater, which is why all these masters, that's why they studied Chinese medicine. I mean, that's why they studied Qigong. They studied Qigong because it improved their power. I studied with Dr. Richard Tong, and he would have people apprentice with him. And he would say, well, my clients only want me, and they're doing the exact same points. And what's the difference? He goes, my Qigong, because I do Qigong every single day. And that is what I've noticed. I use much less needles. I do a lot of distance healing at this point. And in addition to shutting this out and connecting to here, the very first thing that we have to do is slow down. That subtlety that AJ was talking about. Can't hear that subtlety. When we're going like this, when we're doing that, you gotta slow down. And that's what Qigong teaches you. But it doesn't teach you to slow down and be like, sit in silence and in nothing. Oh my God, I did that for years studying with the Native American Indian healer. Oh, sitting in silence, and all these thoughts are going in your head. Qigong's great because you feel the Qi. I get you to connect to Qi, feel it, touch it, all over the universe. It's an amazing, amazing feeling. So that's what's so great about it. And then in that space where we're connecting to Qi, we let the Qi bring us to wherever it wants to. And that, I did this program for several years, and then I had such success with it. I mean, success to the point where I'm saying everybody who left my program was like, oh my God, I'm not depressed, I'm doing this. Do they have to keep it up? Absolutely. And some don't. And so because of that, I'm sorry, I think I have to turn on my light. Okay. Because of that, I wrote a book, Stronger Than Your Stress, and got published a few months ago, and is my program. It is my program. All the book has QR codes and all of that stuff. And that's what I'm out here teaching. I'm very interested in teaching you guys how to become an upper level doctor, if that's what, because that's what we want. And I've been given a really logical and scientific brain. So we can't connect to spirit effectively unless we can touch it. For me, I need to touch it. I need to know my soul lives inside of me. I need to know that I can feel it. I need to be able to hear it just as readily as I hear this. And that's my job. I teach you to connect to your spirit, your soul, and how it relates to the universe, because I think that's really important. And so we're going to do a Qigong together. But before we do, any questions? Thank you for entertaining me for this hour. Okay. Have you found that a focus on positivity is still a trap? Absolutely. Thank you, Daly. 1000%. I never teach about positive thinking because you're directing it again through here. And you work so hard. And think about that. 80% negative. How? It's a 5-to-1 ratio. You'd have to have 5 positive thoughts in order to offset 1 negative thought. That's 80% of your day. That's a tremendous, yes. So yes, positivity still born from, yes, it is. Absolutely. Everything she just said, it's rooted in the idea of interpreting life through the lens of the individual. And whereas equanimity, which is not a judgment of positive or negative, in the form of a thought, is a feeling and energy that is harmonious vibration of soul, spirit, divine life force. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. Because positive thinking means what? We're only addressing yang. There we go again. We think, okay, positive thinking, because we know we can't live in yang forever. We know you can't live in yin together. Chinese medicine is about how do we flow with it? No matter where there's a storm, how do we get through it without being so ruffled, right? How do we sail through? By not going up and down. That's, to me, what Chinese medicine is about. So thank you for that, Daly. It was beautiful. I may actually have to copy that from her and write it. But yes. Does anybody have any other questions before we do a Qigong?
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I'm imagining, based on getting rid of the brain, right, or quiet it, how do you, similar to the question about positivity is a trap, I'm imagining that you would think that as a practitioner, you can treat mechanically and you maybe get better results if you treat with intention and seriously with an intention to help your patient. But in that case, I think if you're using your brain, it's going to be a trap. So the intention should come sort of supernaturally, through the spirit. Like how do you reconcile that?
No, I do. That's a great question. No, intention, we all have to have intent. Well, first of all, let me explain one thing.
Well, I would say that not all practitioners treat with intention. So there is I think there's a therapeutic benefit if you can incorporate, intention in your treatments.
Yeah, so let me explain one thing. When I talk about spirituality and connecting to this, we're not going to live in that forever. We can't live in that 24/7, just like we don't want to live in our mind 24/7. In the Qigong, I only want you to be in spirit. I literally only want you to be in spirit. Okay. When I have a needle in my hand, I can't be in spirit. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, of course I have structures that I have to, avoid. So no. So my practice is teach you how to cultivate spirit, cultivate that so that it plays a bigger part in your life. Once we leave Qigong, yes, we're going to go back into our brain, but if our soul's speaking to us and all this, the ideal, because our brain's incredible, so we need it, is the balance of that, right? The balance of our mind, body, spirit, emotions. And you said something, Dan, I think it's just very important. Intention, I Chi Li, intention, life force, and action. The basis of all martial arts, all Qigong you hear. You know what we do now? Manifestation. It's all we do. We talk about manifestation, which is back to like this positive thinking, this focus, this trap. Qigong, there's no manifestation. It is I Chi Li, and what happens is going to be more beautiful than anything you could have intended. And I guarantee that, because why? Qi is a life force. You can't really control that life force. So I'm going to bring that life force in. And yes, intention is huge. That's your passion. Of course we need that.
Okay.
And yes, and in Qigong, we can start off with an intention, but then I let that Qi go. And then my action is, oh, I'm going to bring this Qi in. I'm going to bring this in, and let's see what happens.
So in
Thank
your
you for that.
daily practice, you're going to manifest is the wrong word, but you're going to be able to access that Qi force with really good intention, because you're doing it.
Okay, and my Qigong is one thing and one thing only. My Qigong goes back to that original picture of heaven and earth, yin and yang. It is only to become aligned with heaven and earth at this very moment, and that's it. It's so, it really is simple. Yes, shutting this down. But, you know, I work with a lot of people who aren't Chinese medicine practitioners. But I think that as a Chinese medicine practitioner, you guys will. Because you know Qi, you know the basis of Chinese medicine. I don't have to sell you on the notion of Qi. And one thing that every Qigong master you learn from will say, Qi has intelligence. Qi is smarter than us. Let me tell you, I'm hoping to speed this up for you, because it took me years to even understand what that meant. I was like, what are you talking about? Now I know. My clients are like, oh my God, Qi has intelligence. Because why? They feel it, they know it, they see it, right? And Dr. Neal said in his last webinar, he said, when you are connected to the universe, you no longer, and I say this all the time, you no longer have to think about preserving the universe in a conscious way. You automatically do, because it's you. You know, just like, you know how you take care of your kids and your family, right? You know, better than anybody else, because it's part of you, right? And it's just automatically, of course, you're going to care for them. But when you do Qigong and you connect to this world in that way, you're like, oh my God, it's a part of me. You don't have to tell me to litter. I'm not going to litter, because it's me. And that is the biggest beauty of Qigong, is that I just connect, and I'm like, oh, I feel it running through my fingers right now as I speak. And my program's 9 weeks, and 7 of those weeks is to teach us how to get out of its way. Honestly, just get out of its way. The first one is the brain, and then all this other stuff. And then once, you know, people come in and like, after like week 1, they're like, oh, I don't feel anything. Oh, you know, some people feel it right away. Week 2, 3, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, what, you know, they're at first they're like, oh, I don't feel this Qi, but they always feel better, even if they don't feel the Qi. It's really interesting because of that subtlety that AJ was talking about. It's subtle, but it's real. It's moving through us. It's like, even if the sun is shining and we put a parasol up, yeah, it may block it, but the sun is still coming through. So even though we don't feel it, it's all around us. And it's that sensitivity that, you know, I've been practicing now regularly, 7 years now, you know, regularly, like every day. And it'll just change your life.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, so let's do a Qigong. And I'm not going to teach you my basic breath, which is a little bit difficult, because, and I won't get into why, because I had an acupuncturist like, I don't know, I can't do this breath. So let's just do, I want you to understand 2 notions. Okay, yang for me is the inhale. And I know some people say yin is the inhale, but I'm logical. So I'm gonna explain to you why yang is the inhale. Yang is acquiring, right? We are grabbing, we are consuming, we're acquiring. When we eat, it's right? Yang is just, we're grabbing this energy. So it's active. Yin is passive. So when I inhale, I'm grabbing Qi, and yin is, oh, I just want the Qi to flow through me. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about this. I don't do. And I'm going to give you another thing. When we eat, how long does it take for our body to digest its food? 6 to 8 hours, right? About. When we drink, half an hour to 2 hours before it comes out of us. Why do I want my breath that's so incredible to come out right away? I don't. I do not want that. So for now, your exercise is we're going to bring the chi in, and then we're just going to let the body relax and get into our cellular level. The more your body's open, the more you're flowing. Let it go through you. Even if you don't feel it, I promise you, at the end of the Qigong, you're just going to feel better. And you're going to feel even better if you can connect to it, not from here, right? We all know, like, let's all do this now. Let's all sit. Let's close our eyes. And let's just do a nice inhale through our nose. We're acquiring chi, bring it in. And then pause. And then on the exhale, leave your mouth open, but let it go through your body, down to your toes. Right, seeping through. Can I feel it? Can I hear it? Do it again. Inhale. Breathing in the original force. And let it go through our veins, our arteries, our meridians. And let's do it again. Bring it in like we can't get enough of it. Pause for a second, go into that Wu Wei state, and then let the body knows what to do with it. You don't have to do a thing. And let's just open our eyes. And in those 3 breaths, can we say that we felt a little bit calmer? Were you able to feel that? Thumbs up? No? Yes. That's it. So now I'm going to add on a few other Qigong movements, very slow. But remember, Yang for me is inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And again, the mouth, it's passive, but that's important because what comes in through our nose, we also want it to come out the other end, right? That's why nose breathing or mouth breathing is not good. We want it to have, just like we eat through the mouth and we know where it comes out. We don't shit out of our mouth. Well, we do sometimes when we vomit, and that's reverse stomach chi, which we don't want. So let's get started. All right, I'm gonna pin myself. Oh, I'm already pinned. You guys see me in a big, you guys, yeah, okay, cool. All right, I'm going to, everybody's already muted, okay. All right, let's get started. I'm not going to go into Qigong stance right now or anything like that. Don't worry about that. I do, obviously it's important, but let's just stand up. Everybody stand up. Why did I wear this today? Because where there is no free flow, there is pain. Where there is free flow, there is no pain. Why do the Chinese practitioners like to wear loose clothes? This is free flow. This here is the way I want my body, right? I want my body flowing as free as this. And if you can do this, trust me, you're going to maximize that chi in your body. So the very first thing I teach in my Qigong is I do an opening. Somewhat I learned from Robert and others came on my own. So I go down and I just grab chi, right? I'm pulling in chi from the earth. I'm pulling it up through my central line. I push it up through over my head like a fountain, and then I spread it all around me. So what's my intention there? My intention is I want the chi to go through me and I want it to emanate out. But we don't live in a bubble. So next, I want to harmonize my chi. I want to grab that chi again, inhale, pull it up. And then I surround myself, wave it around. And now just wave it around however many times you want. Wave it around you. My intention is I'm taking my chi and harmonizing it with the world around me, as opposed to the reverse. Settle in. What's the perfect Qigong stance? Let's bounce a little bit. Let's bounce from your ankles, right? Feel that bounce. As you bounce, your knees are unlocked, your shoulders, you know, those Raggedy Ann or the puppets, right? That's what we want to get. We want to get our body to be bouncing and clearing, just like somebody was holding us as a puppet. Let my arms flail. There's no intention. I'm not stretching my neck or anything like this. I'm just floating, swinging my arms. And then now little intention, let's raise our arm, dangle our wrists, right? I want to open up my wrists, continuing to bounce. Like I'm on a little trampoline. I put my wrist down, I flick it a little bit. Flick it to the back if you want. And what is my center of gravity? Everything is going down. Why is that important? All the chi I'm bringing in, it's going through my body. And it's going down into the earth, connecting into the earth. And we jump to a gentle stop. And that for me is the perfect Qigong stance. My body's loose, my knees are unlocked. And if it's not, go up. Bring your shoulders to your ear all the way up and then just let it drop. That's the perfect Qigong stance. And so let's just do one opening where I go and I grab the chi. My hands are in receiving mode in position. It's out. I'm getting ready to connect to chi. I'm just going to go dig into the earth's chi. Inhale, lift it up. It has weight. Like you're lifting something up, bring it overhead, pause for a second, and just let it flow through you like a chi rain, coming through your body, slowing down like an elevator, going through your body. And make sure it continues to go down your leg, down into the earth. And let's do it again. Let's do it a couple more times. Go in, dig into the earth, dig down. How would your body feel if you were actually picking something up? Mimic that action. And then, let it flow through you. Your belly is relaxed, soft. It's in receiving position. And last one, go dig in. Lift up. Bring it from your head down to your hair follicles, down your throat, all the way down. And as it goes down, your body should be sinking, right? It's following chi. Now let's place our hands in front of us and let's gather some chi. If I had something of substance in front of me and I wanted to gather it, let's say cotton balls, what would I do? I'd inhale. I'm getting ready. I'm enlarging. Inhale, gathering. And then, exhale, pull it in. Pull this cotton in. Inhale again, where I'm widening my surface area. And exhaling, coming in. My whole body concaves into it because I want my whole body to gather chi. Keep gathering in your hand. And do it at a level where your arm is comfortable. If it's up here, that's not so comfortable. Get comfortable. There is no what should you do, where should you be. Just gather chi. And let's gather a little bit, make it a little smaller. Get your hands closer together. Maybe you'll feel more tingling. Maybe you feel more electricity or more of a magnetic pull. Keep gathering. And then hold this chi in your hand for a second. And as you inhale, bring this chi into your lower dantian, into your belly button. And let's rotate this chi. We brought it in. Inhale and rotate it up, left, over, and exhale down. So rotate as you go up the left side of your abdomen. Inhale. And exhale down. A nice circular motion. I'm connecting the chi in my lower abdomen with my breath is synchronized with my movement. And yes, we're going up the left, down the right. And on your next breath, let's go up. Let's go up into our middle dantian. And you can place your hand on your breast or you don't need to. You can put it in front. I'm going to choose to put it in front. And let's go up left, up to our shoulders, across, and then down. Down into our stomach. Up, across, and exhale down. Inhale, moving my chi up, almost up to my throat. And the relaxation of it going down. And last one. And on the next inhale, we're going to raise it up to our upper dantian. Inhale, so it goes over our forehead, cross over and down to about our shoulder. I'm moving the chi, I'm using the earth's energy to move the chi that's connected inside me. Inhale, bringing chi into my brain, and exhaling, flushing it out of my head. Inhale. Now your next one, you're going to enlarge the circle. You're going to circle your entire body down, scoop across the earth, inhale up, connect to the heaven, cross over and down. Scoop. Remember to bend your knees and raise your knees with each inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, go all the way up to the sky, up in the heavens, look up, widen out your hand, grab more chi, and bring it down into your forehead, down your face, down your nose. You can touch it or you can just hover above. Bring it down your center line, down your stomach, down your groin. Shoots all the way down deep into the earth. And we sink in. And you can place your hands on your lower dantian underneath your belly button. And sit in this flow of chi. I like to say, I am Chi, Chi is me. And I always end the way I started, grabbing Earth Chi, lifting it up through my body, overhead, spreading it all around me, and grabbing the Chi again, and harmonizing myself with the universe. That is where I want to be always. Okay. So, how'd that feel, guys? You can be honest. Anybody wants to share?
I'll share something. I do a lot of energy healing practices like Reiki and vortex healing, and I like that the feeling of this is a bit denser, a bit more physicalized. It feels maybe less subtle, but juicier in a way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So very
Yeah.
nice for my body.
Do you do Qigong, AJ?
I don't know that I would call it Qigong. You know, I'm one of those practitioners you said that does all the yoga and the other types of things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's interesting. He does a lot of energy work, but subtler, but yet juicier. I know exactly what you mean. It's substantive. It's like, whoa, there's something really palpable to it. Thanks for sharing that, AJ. Anybody else?
I can share. I feel pretty, I guess I feel like calmer. And I did like the exercise a lot. I like how palpable it is, like how I like the visualization, how you're going through each parts of your body. I'm at a cafe right now, so I did do the Qigong exercise, but I think I could have, like, if I was by myself, I could have like tapped into it a little bit more. But I definitely did feel it towards the end, which is pretty cool.
Great. So palpable is a really, really big word for me. Tangible and palpable. Super, super big word. And I'm at the hour and a half, so I am going to tie it up, but and tangible. I use this Qi to get you tangibly connected to your soul and your spirit. And that is my job. That is what I do. And that has been the most effective way for me to transform mental health. And I am now going to share a couple of things. So I have my book, which is right here. And my book has QR codes all in it. All my exercises are in there. You'll hear people meals. So it's a really great way to start should you be interested in it. And obviously I bring in Chinese medicine and how I layer Chinese medicine in the Western world, because even though I was born in Hong Kong, I moved here when I was 6, so I'm very Western. But clearly, you know, I'm Chinese and that never leaves you. So I hope what you do understand is if you're not connecting to spirit, you are not fully utilizing the power of Chinese medicine. And if you're not fully utilizing it, I believe you can't be as powerful and healthy as hopefully you want to be. And you certainly can't be an upper level doctor. That I can honestly say. And I also do want to share with you, I have a 9-week course. This is actually the basis of my book. It was this 9-week course that I've done. My next one is on September 18th. If you want to work with me. And so the course is 9 weeks of pre-recorded class videos, and they get dripped out 1 week at a time. But I also do live coaching and discussions, Qigong and healing. This is where it really kind of comes alive. You come in with, we refine your technique. You come in with questions and stuff like that. And these are the times that I have. You don't have to sign up. You just, come to whichever one, works for you that week. And everything's recorded. And I also do group energy healings. That's actually a big part of my practice right now. I actually have a store that's going to go up. I don't know when, but I've recorded all these vibrational healings and it's remarkable. I can't believe I'm doing it, where I'm people listen to it and their headache is gone or their menstrual cramps is gone. I have one for COVID. And it's just my way of contributing to healthcare, because there's so many people who can't afford it, and they certainly couldn't afford my services. So that's what I do. But I do a group energy healing once a week as well. And everything is recorded, so you can watch it at your own time. And then I have a group support on Zoom and Facebook, all that stuff. And so this course, 9 weeks, was originally priced $3,000, and I am doing an early bird pricing of $1,697. And why am I doing that? Because honestly, I just can't. I just can't see anymore. I can't stand the way we're treating mental health, and it's just still such a big crisis. And I feel like, you know, if I don't get this out, then I'm going to scream, which I do anyway. So I'm discounting it huge. So I'm bringing a group of people that are starting on September 18th. There's an early bird pricing of $1,697. That's a $1,300 saving. And for Kamwo, if you come in through Kamwo, you can type in Kamwo 40 and you get an extra 40% off. This is, I've never given it off away that at 1,018. So if you enroll by September 8th, I know that's tomorrow. If that is, if any of you are interested, you're like, oh, that's enough time, email me and we'll, you know, I'll figure something out with you. That's not a problem. And there it is. It's Stress Liberator, superhealing.com, Kamwo 40. That's my pitch. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to really hopefully share with all of you. Please incorporate spirituality into your practice. Really utilize Chinese medicine, and your life will change. That is my guarantee. Your life will change in ways that you couldn't even possibly imagine, like it has for me. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions before?
All right. Well, thank you, Sue. Well, before we start the Q&A session, I just want to thank you on behalf of our group for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. It was both enlightening and inspiring for me. And to the rest of the members, thank you for attending today's event. As a reminder, please look for your $20 coupon email. It should be coming sometime next week. And if you don't see it, look in your spam folder, it's probably there. And please also be sure to check out the upcoming exciting events. And thank you, Sue, on behalf of the group. It was really wonderful.